alcohol and wash it all down there. I'll just do the pinks first, and this will just give me a nice base to put the pastel over. Clean that one up later, and a little cleaner alcohol for the blue of the sky. I want to keep it a little bit lighter, so just a little bit more, and there we go there, just keeping it slightly lighter. If I keep using the same alcohol, it will just end up being too purple. So everything a bit lighter on this end here. Okay, so that's okay, and I'll be putting in a lot of different colours over the top of that, just to bring it to the way I'd like it to be. So brushes away, and out with my trusty cloth for wiping things on. I think I'm just going to go straight in with the water, and we'll do some more work up here later on, but first I want to go in and get that water sorted a bit. So I'm just going back to my little collection here and start layering in some colours. I think you can see how quickly it dries. These are just colours coming straight out of the sky. Some more pinker colours here. A little bit of pink around there. Some pink towards this, which I might wash in a minute. Underneath where I'm going to have the pebbles, because that beach has got a nice pink glow to it. I've got some blues coming in there around the edges. So they're just going in now. And from this lighter bit of the sky, which I haven't quite made light enough, I'm just dropping in here. There, that's the lightest area in the water. I want to drop in some deeper colours there, just in this area, so going back into the deeper purples. Keep coming down here. These have got greens as well as blues in them, and browns, and eventually they'll have some reflections from the shed as well. But at the moment I'm just putting in some of those colours. I would like to put in a little bit of the greens here, and more sort of browny colours around the edges. It's sort of a little bit gold, which will be coming from up in this area. And I'm just working back into the shrubbery a bit as I go, trying to keep some of the colours coming through. Okay. In this area it's more stippled, it's smoother back here, so what I'm going to do is Here, a little bit of a smooth down. In the water. There. And a little bit across too, just where you have the ripples in the water, you want to give a little bit of horizontal motion too. That helps to blend in also the edges of where one colour goes into another. If I just scoot it across a little bit horizontally as well. They're not exactly the colours I want yet, but I'm making a start. Down here it's going to end up being a little bit more stippled, but I'm going to start off with a bit more of a smoother base for it. And I want actually a bit more of the pinks in there, so some pinky colours there. Some purple colours there. Some more purple colours here. I'm going to put some blues in a little bit there too, because there's a little bit of sky reflection that isn't clouds coming in there as well. A little bit over here. And in amongst that mountain there, there's going to be the darks of the reflections of the mountains, but there's a little bit of sort of pink coming in there as well from that pink cloud up there, so I'm just dropping that down, putting some of that in. Try and keep that feeling of the horizontal plane of the water there, and I'm starting to get that with just putting in some of these little horizontal lines. And there'll be a few more over here in this area. I'm wanting to leave it's a little bit patchy here because what it's doing is suggesting the pebbles underneath the water. I don't want to make it too smooth in this area, but I do want to keep putting in some of those pinks around the edge of the... Just dropping them in, dropping in some pinks amongst the purples there. This is actually going to go a little bit further up there. We'll put a little bit more in there. Across. That's coming along. So I'm starting to get the idea of it. Now this becomes pinker as we go down. So I'm just dropping a little bit more pinks around there. I'm just getting a little smoother blend, so I grade that the change of colour there. So it's coming in from the very reds to the less red, the pinker, softer tinges. See, I'm just dragging the blue into the pink and the pink into the blue by doing that. And it gives it a softer quality. Over here I'm going to do the same between. That one's a little bit stuck in its way, so I'm just going to put rocks there. Some light hitting those rocks, and that'll give some more interest in that area. I'm trying to give some variety now to the edge of the lake there, so it's not just a flat line, because that's not what it's like in nature. Now there's going to be rocks coming out here in a minute, which will make for some chance to put in some lighter areas. Okay. So the rule with reflections is your light should be darker and your darks should be lighter. So it may be that I lighten this area off a little bit more, in fact. And I think the way I'm going to do that is just to use a bit of purple. And some of that will be from the bushes as well. So I might put a slight tinge of green in it as well, up close there. About that in there. So I've started that, and it's not looking too bad. I'll be needing to do some more work on it. I would like to do some more work over here, and what I'm going to actually do is put in a fair amount of pink here, just scrambling it across. There's a real bit of pinky colour coming around in these rocky areas. Where the other rocks are going in front of the shed there, and it has got a real pink in the background there of the rocks, the pebbles. So here we go. That's just giving me the underlay for that. It's got a very warm, a real warmth about it, and up here it's very warm, so I'm just putting in some more, and I might even put a little bit of an orangey colour in there, in that area, just to warm it up. And then back into it with that pink. And the more red colour there as well. Okay. Just give that a flick back to there so I can see how I'm coming along. That's going pretty well. I think probably the bottom of it needs to be a lot lighter here, so maybe I'm going to go back in with pale, because too pale.
Got mental with.
There we go. Okay, what I need to do now before I do much more is to do the shed, because it's just that glaring blank spot there that's bothering me. I'm just going to smooth this down a little bit. Granulated effect here, which means that it does look like there's pebbles underneath it. If I smooth it too much, I won't have any sense of depth in the water, so much in the darker area here. Actually, there's not much in that's dark, so I'm going to go straight in with the very dark rocks here. And this area is quite dark, So I'm starting with it. It's not black, but it looks pretty black there. I might actually tone down that blackness with a bit of deep purple. So this has got quite a nice, this has quite a nice sharp edge on the tip of it, so it allows me to get into those little corner bits quite sharply and cleanly. I don't want this to just be a dead same colour space, so I'm not putting it in with a really hard pressure. I'm putting in some light pressure, making my edges around the beams quite sharp, but other than that I'm putting it in with a light pressure so that I can scrumble in some other colours as well, so it's not just a deep purple, the shadows in there on the interior of that shed. It's going to, and I'm using some different strokes too, so not just up and down or across. And what I want to do is just suggest the shadows in there, but that there's some variations in the shadows. So I'm putting in purple to start with, and purple down here, but I'm not going over that edge with purple because it'll be too dark. So I'm just starting with the purple in this deepest, darkest area of shadow in there, and that's quite dark too. Put that in quite dark. Now I can tidy up those edges later on with a pencil if I want to. And I think I'm making that shadow come out to about there. Just again to give a little bit of variation in the shadow. Don't want it to be all the same. And I'm going to pop in the shadow sort of underneath those shingles now. So I'm up at the stage now where this is a really good space. I've got the shed starting to come along. I'm going to now work on these areas of foliage. I'm going to go tidying up the shed after that. Then I'll start on the little rocks and the pebbly area there. And then lastly what I'm going to do is come back and check the reflections, check the sky and check the mountains, and I'll probably be doing a bit more there. The video stopped, so I'm not sure how much you missed. I'll check that when I'm doing my edit, but right now I'm just going to get on with put that bridge in, work on the foliage, then come back and crisp up the edges of that shed there. So the bridge is sort of again going to be because there'll be some gaps there, and then there's a little rail coming along there, so that one's quite thick. I don't want it to be staying blue, but what I'm doing now is just putting in the base colour, and then I'll go back and just change that colour over a little bit. I'm going to warm it up with a warmer colour because it's catching some of the colours from the sunset, so I'm warming it up now. It's a little wooden bridge, so over the blue I'm just putting a warmer colour and just touches at the side, not hiding all the blue but just touching that edge of those of the I've lost my words, haven't I? just a little hint of catching the light on the edge of the footings for the bridge. There we go. So the bridge is in, and this is a little bit of path going around here, and I want to give that a little bit of warmth as well, so I'm going to put that in with a light colour, but a little bit of warmth. So I'm going to warm that up again with this. Okay, so which I'll leave or not as we go. Some of them are coming out already because I don't really like them, but some of them are staying in. Okay, foliage time. Up in here is a lovely golden sort of colour, so I'm just going to keep that quite warm. Looking for something warm here. I'm going to pop some of those in to start with. In here. Over the undercolour of red I put in there, which will help with the shadows, establishing the shadows. So I won't be covering that up entirely, but I will be putting in some red. Just the complementary colour of the red will help it zing a little bit. So all that comes in, and you can see where I'm leaving the shed tidying up till later. More golden colours up here, browns and yellows. And again, I'm just scrabbling them along here. Just trying to build up some different colours, some layers of interest by using different yellows and golds. I'm going to get a more in there in all the areas. So, and to use some of the colours from each area in the other, just to give it a little bit of continuity, help it travel through. And here I'm just putting some warmer colours over those cooler greens there. These ones have got some lighter, warmer colours, so I'll get around to that in a minute. So I'm putting it in fairly, I was putting it in fairly gently. Now I'm going back and putting in some more forceful bits. I'll just go in with that now, and it goes up here. And that will pick up some of those yellows underneath it, which won't be a bad thing, to give it a bit of a different colour than the shrubs in front of it. I'm putting a bit of the darker greens in as well here, just down lower, and around the light colours, bit of contrast, dark and light, and along the edge there. So just creating some contours in the shrubbery, suggesting shadows. And I will be going back in with some deeper blues there as well, and some purples in those shadows areas, just to again mix it up a little bit. Don't want it just to be green. And as I do that, we start to get some volume in the shrubbery there. So just going in, especially along the bottom edges there. where there's a lot of shadow. Just trying to model those shrubs. And that's coming along quite well. This is very dark back here. So I'm just making that quite deep down at the edge there. And I'll be putting in some purple there because I want to use it in the shadows on the beach as well from underneath the shrubs. So just going to make it a little bit darker on the beach there. And you can see just blending it in really helps there to make it look more realistic. Okay, and just softens off the edges there. And I'm going to be putting some of that purple over here as well at the edge. And again, I'll give that a bit of a smudge off as well. Instead of using deep greens, I like to use purples and dark blues in the shadow areas of the shrubs. It just gives it a little bit of contrast to the greens, the lighter greens. So now I'm giving those a bit of a smudge off at the bottom, just because it becomes somewhat more smooth. Okay, this shrub here needs a bit of nice contrast and just a few areas of shadow up amongst that. This has got quite a lot of shadow in it. And again, by using the purples, you end up with a good contrast to the golds. And by putting some warms against some cools. Okay. So I'm getting some depth in there. I will be putting a little bit of the shadows in it. Okay, shrubbery is coming along well. I now have to put in some of the very bright highlights, and this can get a bit tricky. I want to make sure I've got the right colours before I start popping them in. That's very bright, but I might use that judiciously for a few spots. That will be quite a good one. I'm just popping them onto my palette as I work them out. I'm not sure about that one, but it can go in there for the time being. I'm just checking out. Maybe give it. That's a bit too cool, so I won't be using that after all. Now, up in here is fairly good. I'm just going to smudge the edges a bit there. I don't want them too sharp against the mountain. And drag some colour from the mountain down into the shrubbery there. Okay, now I want to put in the lighter tops along there. And some little light bits along there. So I'm going to start off with putting some of this the shrubs. It's a fairly hard one, so this one was a bit of a lighter one, so I'm just varying up those. By now just doing a couple of touches rather than and there's not a lot of that. In fact, taking off a little bit of it there, and just a little bit there. So just some touch. Right. The edges are a little bit weird. So that's a bit better. And just grabbing a bit more of the greens over that. Adding on some lighter and darker colours there. I actually think I need to make this one a bit bigger, so I'll probably go back in there, get a whole lot more darks, and have it come up a little bit higher before I start putting in the lights. Maybe bring it around there a little bit further, which means a bit more shadow in the sand. Okay. So I've done that. I'm going to go back in with some greens now, just to give it a bit of a lighter greens along that edge there. Okay. It's amazing how just some small touches of colour will really just some bright touches of colour really makes it come alive. I'll just put a couple and on that side of the tree as well. Not too bad. I need to sharpen up here. I need to put a bit more foliage at the back there is what I need. So I'm just going to scrub around a bit of foliage in there. With some greens and also some darker colours in there. So I'll grab my dark kit again and go in with some darks up the back there. Just get in. Really establishing those darks. Right, but I do want them to have some warmth, so that's just giving them some warm tops without going too bright, and suggests the warmth of that sunset coming on them. And I may even go back in there with a bit of a red. Not sure how this will work, but I think just a few touches of deep red to reflect the. And just help to give it. Just scrambling it over there a little bit. Okay, this one is going to have a few little dots on it as well. light amongst the warmer lights there. A little bit more around there. And make some more lighter areas. I think this side of the shed should be much lighter than it is. Maybe that's a little bit darker. And then I'm going to start working on the pebbles and the little rocks around here. And after that I'm going to go back for the complete final look at it. And so I'm going to work on the shed now because I've got the background in there fine. So shadowed side, give that a little. So just attempting to make that a little bit darker compared to the other side, and then I'll try and lighten off the other side a bit more. So lightening that off a bit more. I'm going to actually use some pale blue because that's quite a lot, and put in a few more random patches of it. Okay, so that is lighter. I still need some darker colours, and I used a very dark, I'm just going to use this. This has got a very sharp edge, just to sharpen up that and that. Just use my finger to soften it off. And then this one is okay. There's a little bit along there as well. Just trying to drag it a little bit lighter along there because I don't want it to be Just some lighter colours, and I want to put some purplies back in there too, because I've kind of lost those. And it's good having some variety in there. A little bit more in there as well. Here, keep going with it into the water. Oh, it's time consuming. Off the painting with some little rocks here, and I'll just do a little bit of work here and a few touches up on the mountain. So I'll bring that in slightly for you so you can see a little bit better as I get closer in. Right, so I just noticed here I'm not so happy with that bit. What I want, sorry, the side of each of these little peaks is going to be dark, and then that one comes up a bit higher than the rest, and then it's quite dark down here. That side's quite dark. Yes, that needs to come across a little bit more like that. I think that maybe need to come up higher, and that's my problem. So how about we bring that up a little bit higher? Yes, I think that's improved it quite a bit. It just seems to be coming up too high here, and that needs to be in there more. And I want to give it a little bit more pinkness at the top there, just a few pinks on this side of it. Few on that side. Maybe a touch there too. and a little bit here. Right, that's not bad. And up here, just a couple of the lighter touches of pink as well. I'm just coming to tidying up the shed there, and what I'm going to use is this little piece of willow charcoal. It's quite good. I know it's black, but because it's charcoal, it's not, and I'm not pressing too hard, it's not going to be dark, deep black. And that's going to give me a nice fine line for doing the little shadows there. So let's have a little look at that. We'll come in a little bit closer. So what I'm just doing is taking my little willow stick and using it just to gently go along those shadow lines of in the roof shingles. And you can see I'm only doing it gently, but it's actually working quite well. And then I'm just giving it sort of an edge down at the back there. Just tightening up my shadows there. A little bit underneath that one. And again, I'm just going to go gently along that one and gently along here. Give a little sharpen up down there. And it just cleans it up nicely by using that. So the shed's looking better there. I might just pull down a few bits of the charcoal from the shadows there, because that'll help give me the little bits of darks in these facing tiles here. And then if I need to, I'll just go back in again with the sharp edge. Okay, just a little pull down here as well in a couple of spots. And then that's pretty good. Now the other thing I'm going to do is grab out my pencils. I made those just to tidy up any loose edges there on it. And I'm just going to give the top edge and that edge a bit of a warm treatment. I'm warming those up slightly, but I still want that to be a bit grey, so I'm just taking my violet colour, putting it along the ridge, and just giving that a little so I was just doing up my shed a little bit more there. Put a few different colours in, and it's helpful with the pencil sometimes. So and then I'm just going to find my black pencil, or in this case it's going to be my Prussian blue. I need to sharpen it a bit more, and then I'm going to just tackle those edges again with it nice and sharp. So just where I put those charcoal, I'm going back over with a Prussian blue just to take a bit of the blackness off it, and then just down there, across there. Well, do you know what? I think I'm calling that done. Here we are. It's a vibrant sunset at Cradle Mountain, Lake Dove in Tasmania, and I think we're pretty well there. What I need to do now, of course, is talk to my client about it and see if she's happy. And as I'm looking at it, maybe I need to put a little bit more of a pink glow down the bottom here. So this will be a bit of a final touch down here. We'll put in a little bit more pinks. So I'll make the glow a bit more down the bottom, because it's quite glowing all over. I'll just be giving those a little bit of a that's a bit too and a few sideways ones to mush them together. Hope you're taking note of all these technical terms. Mushing is a big one. And all I mean by that is I'm just letting them blend slightly using my finger there. I'm fairly happy with that. There is a tiny spot over here of lightness, and I quite like that it breaks up all this heaviness, so I'm just going to put that in there. I think we're going to call it a rock. I don't know what it really is, but let's just call it a rock and give it a bit of downward reflection. Put on some darkness at the back there and pull that down into the reflection, and then a little bit of a dark. And I'm just going to pull the reflection down a bit. So, hope you enjoyed that session today where I finished off the painting the sunset sky with the lake reflections, and we looked at how we're blending the reflections today in the water and how to get a little bit of light on the edges, which will really make your painting sing. See you next time. Bye for now.